Good evening. Welcome to the news today at 9, where we have a sad piece of news to give you right at the very top. Former President APJ Abdul Kalam passes away after collapsing at a function at IIM Shillong at about 6:25 p.m. this evening. That's the big breaking news that we are giving you at the moment. India's most loved president, APJ Abdul Kalam, is no more. That's the big news that we are getting at the moment. Former President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, India's missile scientist, who in many ways was seen as one of the architects of India's nuclear program at the time, someone who has spent a lifetime, in a sense, with missile technology, with really developing the idea of India. APJ Abdul Kalam is no more. Let's first get in the Health Secretary of Meghalaya for a quick response. Sir, could you tell us the news and confirm the news, sir? Can I go to Javed Ansari, our National Affairs Editor? Javed, tell us, what is the story that you have? Is it now confirmed that APJ Abdul Kalam is no more?
Yes, Rajdeep, we can confirm the sad news that former President APJ Abdul Kalam is no more. He collapsed while addressing a seminar at IIM Shillong. He was rushed to the hospital, and we are told that at the hospital he was declared dead. He was, the doctors tried their level best to try and revive the former president, but they failed. We are awaiting an official announcement, but yes, Press Trust of India has confirmed. The MD of the hospital where Dr. Kalam was rushed, he's also confirmed. And
we all shots that you have,
and all that we are waiting for now is to hear from the government. Perhaps the government is waiting to complete all the formalities. There has to be a protocol in place. He was the president of India, and therefore there are certain formalities that have to be completed before a formal announcement is made on behalf of the government.
Javed, we know that the president was ailing for a while. We know that the former president was in hospital over a prolonged period of time. What was he doing at IIM Shillong?
He was very popular on the lecture circuit. He was extremely sought after both in India and abroad. He had gone there to address a seminar at the Indian Institute of Management in Shillong, where in the course of that lecture we are told that he collapsed, he complained of chest pain, he collapsed. He was immediately rushed to the hospital, and unfortunately at that hospital the doctors were unable to revive him, and the sad truth is that President Kalam is no more.
Javed, we are also being told that a formal announcement will come from Rashtrapati Bhavan. Is that the normal procedure, that we expect an announcement from Rashtrapati Bhavan? Presumably, of course, tomorrow the country will have a day of national mourning.
Yes, I think there will be more than a day of national mourning. There will be probably 3 days of national mourning. He's entitled to a state funeral. He was the former Supreme Commander of India's Armed Forces. By virtue of being President of India, I'm told that the announcement will come from the Home Ministry. Perhaps the Cabinet will meet, and then they will make a formal announcement. All the other formalities are being put in place before a formal announcement is made on behalf of the Government of India.
With more details that we are going to get on this story, APJ Abdul Kalam, India's most loved president, someone who really distinguished the office of the president by the manner in which he reached out and really was the people's president in the truest sense of the word. Born on October 15, 1931 at Rameshwaram in Tamil Nadu, Dr. Avul Pakir Jainullabuddin Abdul Kalam, who specialized in aeronautical engineering from the Madras Institute of Technology, made enormous contribution as project director to develop India's first indigenous satellite launch vehicle. And remember, he was someone deeply associated with India's defense research program for decades. APJ Abdul Kalam is no more. That's the terrible, sad news that we are getting at the moment. Former President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam passing away at the age of 84. We are getting in reactions as they are coming in. The political class stunned by this piece of news today, and indeed the country today will feel a sense of loss, because APJ Abdul Kalam was more than just the President of India. He was someone who had touched the hearts and minds of millions of Indians across the world. And APJ Abdul Kalam will really be seen as India's most loved president. That's how he will be seen over years. India I'm going to get reactions. Former Army Chief General VP Malik is joining me. Also joining me is Sambit Patra of the BJP, and I'm also joined by Naresh Gujral. Gentlemen, we were today to discuss the terror attack that has taken place in Punjab, where after an 11-hour operation, terrorists have killed 7 personnel and civilians, but all 3 terrorists have been killed. But today I want to talk to you first about your thoughts on APJ Abdul Kalam. May I ask you, Naresh Gujral, for your first reactions to what you've heard?
Well, it's a very sad day for India. Dr. Kalam's contribution both to the field of science and technology, atomic energy, and then as President of India, I think was unrivaled. He was conferred Bharat Ratna, which he richly deserved, and I think nation is really poor today with his passing away.
General Malik, you would have known him at the time when he became president. Your thoughts, sir, your memories of APJ Abdul Kalam. What made him such a loved president?
Rajdeep, it's a very sad news and a great loss to the nation. Let me also mention to you that I served along with Dr. Abdul Kalam when he was head of the DRDO, and almost for about 4 years we were together. First I was vice chief and then became chief. Later on, of course, he got elected as a president, but his contribution both in terms of Prithvi missiles, Agni missiles, and the paths that he gave to the scientists in terms of weaponry, in terms of missiles in particular, and in terms of nuclear weaponry, that will always be remembered. I was with him when India carried out the nuclear test in Pokhran in 1998, and we worked together at that time very closely. So it's a great loss. And as you said, yes, people will remember him. Particularly the children are going to miss him, because he was so fond of children, and any children who went and met him, they were really very, very fond of him. After meeting, they came back with tremendous stories. Yes. And he always encouraged the youth. The kind of books that he has written, the kind of talks that he has given, always encouraging the younger people to that India should become self-dependent, and India that we should have more innovation, we should have more manufacturing. All these things that he laid stress on, I don't think any other president has so far given that kind of message, and he has been able to connect as much with the youth and the children as Dr. Abdul Kalam did. We are going to, I think the whole nation is going to miss him.
I'm going to come to you for more.
Day, and it's a great loss.
You know, since you worked so closely with him, General Malik, I'm going to come to you more. We're going to also play out more pictures and sound bites of Dr. Kalam. But I want to go to Dr. Wali, who was a personal physician to the president. Sir, tell us what you've heard about his condition that has eventually led to this tragic demise, sir.
I'm very shocked. I'm absolutely shocked and very much depressed about this news. And we are traveling to Bangalore, and he was a man of masses, and it's going to be true national mourning. And what others have said, I fully agree that he connected so well the children, the nation, himself.
Right.
And he was a man of masses and the simplest person to imagine. Yes. And he would do all the things like a common man.
Yes.
And it never occurred to his head that he's on a great post, despite being one of the greatest president of India. I would say in simplicity, after Rajan Babu, he was next to him in simplicity.
I think you make a very interesting point about Kalam's simplicity. I'm joined by more guests who actually were to come to me on the tragic encounter the tragic terror attack that has taken place in Punjab. With me in the studio, senior journalist Manoj Joshi, former police chief of Punjab. Sipal Singh, appreciate your joining us. Also Sambit Patra with us. I just want to get reactions from all of you first to what you're hearing about APJ Abdul Kalam. Sambit Patra, you know, the BJP in a sense, was the one which drove Mr. Kalam to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. I remember the late Pramod Mahajan, who was a driving force along with Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who eventually came together to choose Mr. Kalam as their choice for the President of India on the 25th of July 2002. He is, though, someone who rose above all party lines. I don't think any political party could publicly ever say that Kalam belonged to their party.
Kalam belonged to India, and I tell you, it's such a sad day. I mean, it's really shocking. We are all shell-shocked. I mean, look, though he was 84, but look at his face. Even at the age of 84, there was a child in his face, you know, there was an exuberance of happiness, a very innocent smile. And this is something which only a very few people in this world have. I mean, that's the reason as to why, though he was 84, now looking at him, I never felt that he was 84, that that he's no more along with us. And that's the reason as to why children love him. So full of energy, so innocent. And the biggest thing is, look how he passed away. He passed away in the arms of knowledge. IIM Shillong, by lecturing, delivering knowledge. A man of knowledge passes away in the arms of knowledge. I believe, in fact, this is such a different kind of feeling that I am having today hearing this. A man who was always surrounded by knowledge, never had an iota of politics anywhere near him. He is no more with us. I believe we should all pray for him and say, let his soul rest in peace.
Manoj Joshi, you knew him, you said, since 1986. You've, of course, tracked India's nuclear program. Obviously, there's that avatar of APJ Abdul Kalam, which got him the Bharat Ratna. And then there's the avatar where he suddenly became the people's president. And as General Malik told us, someone embraced particularly by younger India. He seemed to represent, in a sense, this newer, younger, energetic, infectious India, and yet remained a man of great simplicity in his personal habits.
Well, that was when I first met him, he was working with the Agni program. Just after the Agni launch had gone down to Hyderabad, he was the chief of the DRDL. And I met him subsequently several times. We would have discussions, I had my views, he would explain things to me. What was remarkable was that you could make out, you know, what we eventually saw as president, that is that he was an inspirational figure. Meaning in his lab with the scientists, etc., he was someone who was absolutely hero worshipped by them. And then subsequently, when he became president, one saw that part of it, that the unique thing was that he, and I'm not saying not just the young, I would say even the young adults, you would find that they found something in him, something inspirational. I met him last December in Peking, and he was constantly that's why he was in IIM, Shillong.
That's the remarkable thing, that even after he became president, he was, he seemed to have the same energy for life.
And he was in Peking, and Peking University, I was quite surprised, had specially invited him. He was a special guest. He was there for a series of lectures, and this was at this
I remember once that I wanted Dr. Kalam to come for a function. He asked me how many children will be there at the function. The moment I told him 80% of the gathering will be Indians under the age of 21, he readily accepted. He had that affinity for the young of India. I'll come to you, Singh, in a moment, but Pradyot Maniaka, the Raja of Tripura, he's also a Congress leader who was there at the hospital where this has happened. Pradyot, tell me what you are hearing. Where is the body at the moment? Is it still in Shillong?
Raji, first of all, I'm also the editor of the Northeast Today magazine. And we are right now in Bethany Hospital. He has been declared dead officially. But he was both, according to Dr. Silo, who's the head of the Bethany Hospital,
yes,
he was both dead. But we took time to officially announce his departure.
Right. And what time did this happen, Pradyot?
This happened sometime around 6:30 to 7 o'clock. In between that, he was giving a lecture at IIM.
Right.
When he suddenly felt unwell and he collapsed, and he was taken immediately to Bethany Hospital, which is roughly a kilometer away from the IIM Shillong.
Right.
But from sources that we have got, our reporters are there along with me here.
Yes.
He was apparently brought dead.
He was brought dead, you're saying, to the hospital at the moment. Presumably the body will now be brought to the national capital from Shillong?
They are making arrangements. In fact, I've just got the quote from the Chief Minister of Meghalaya, Mukul Sangwa, and he himself is on his way to the hospital. The entire authorities and all the district officials are all here. And it's indeed very sad because Abdul Kalam had in fact chosen Shillong, the first IIM in the Northeast, to give his lectures.
Right.
And he was extremely popular and very accessible to all of us in the Northeast here.
He was accessible to every Indian. Yes, go ahead.
I happened to have met him in DPS Arkipura. I was conducting some tournament. Mr. Kalam came to visit. He was most childlike, not childlike, he was such an enthusiasm by seeing the children, go around, patting them and all. It looks as if, he gets some sort of vibration in him by seeing the children. Actually, he was most childlike, simple person. And that's what created an impact on everyone who met him.
That precisely is it. We talk about Chacha Nehru in a sense, Naresh Gujral, but in a sense, what APJ Abdul Kalam did with children was quite remarkable. I mean, he really opened the doors of Rashtrapati Bhavan to the children of this country, and in a sense made Rashtrapati Bhavan accessible to people outside the VVIP culture of this country, Naresh Gujral.
Absolutely. He was an inspirational figure, and he didn't inspire just the children but the entire youth of this nation. And I think anybody who touched his life was so impressed, and he left such a lasting impression. He was very close to my late father, Mr. Gujral.
Yes.
And in fact, it was my father's government that had conferred the
Bharat
Ratna on him.
Yes.
And for us, it's a huge loss, personally also, because our family was close to him, and he was one of those people who would he was infectious with his laughter, yes, with his affection, and touched everybody that he met.
That's precisely it. And I sometimes wonder, that President Kalam perhaps could have got a second term, and at the end of the day was denied the second term because he was by then seen to have been identified with a political party, which was very sad, because he really was someone who belonged to no political party. But General Malik, do you believe that Dr. Kalam was at his happiest when he was in DRDO, when he was in Rashtrapati Bhavan, or today in post-retirement as he was traveling the country, giving lectures, writing 4 books, Wings of Fire, India 2020, My Journey, Ignited Minds? What do you think made Dr. Kalam happiest?
Frankly, if you ask me, I saw him happiest when he was interacting with children, wherever that may be, or when he was addressing the students of any institution. That is the time when he was happiest.
Right.
But of course, when he was working in the DRDO, he was all the time hoping, aiming that India should become self-sustained. We should have our own weapon building programs, etc. And he did try very hard.
So I'm going to just stop you for a moment, because, sir, my apologies. I just want to stop you for a moment. Dr. Farooq Abdullah also is on the line. Remember, Dr. Abdullah almost became vice president at the time when Dr. Kalam was president. That's one of the untold stories of India. But Dr. Abdullah, your first reaction when you heard that Dr. Kalam is no more?
I think it was the saddest news I have heard for a long time. He was people's president. I remember that. And I remember when I went with Vajpayee to the nuclear blast that had been done. And he was there at Pokhram, and he was there. That was my first meeting with him. And then when he was announced that he'll be the president, and I went to him and I said, my party and we all will stand by you and elect you as the president of this. And I remember later how, as chief minister, I had to go before him and show the programs that we were doing in our state. He was concerned about every small detail. He wanted to know what was being done to improve the lives of people. I think that is why he was always called people's president. He was a great human being. I think the nation will miss him for many, many centuries. There's a couplet, बड़ी मुश्किल से होता है चमन में दीदवर पैदा, and that is what he was. He was a builder. He wanted to build a nation for all, for every Indian. He was open always, and was standing by them in thick and thin. And I think I will miss him greatly, greatly. God bless his soul.
Do you believe that, APJ Abdul Kalam, in a sense, represented, sir, in that sense, a new India which was younger, which was meritocratic in the truest sense of the term? He had come from a small, poor family in Rameshwaram and then goes on to becoming the first citizen of this country. He represented the energies of this new India, sir.
I think he represented India in every way. He represented every single Indian, whatever his color, whatever his religion, whatever his region. He was open to everyone. And that is a great thing for this president. I wish he had come again, but then God didn't will it.
Yes, there was of course that question mark. There was that question mark. Do you believe that he should have perhaps got a second term as Indian president? I mean, what had he done not to deserve a second term as Indian president?
That's the whole thing.
He was succeeded by Pratibha Patil.
I agree.
I mean, the Congress party should answer that someday.
See, the thing is that if you look at Kalam's record as president, it is a first-rate record.
Yes.
Meaning, if you look at decisions, the manner in which he would return papers and insist on clarifications, he was no walkover, and that's very important in today's context. And so then you have Pratibha Patil come in. That itself tells the whole story, because you don't have a person who was renowned for his integrity for the simple reason that that man lived with nothing. Meaning he had no possessions. He did not allow his own family to crowd around Rashtrapati Bhavan. Meaning even in his swearing in ceremony, I think there were some select people came, but after that they all went back. There was no situation where families would go on presidential trips and that kind of stuff. He just lived truly like a sadhu, and people said that he was a kind of a sadhu.
I would call him a karma yogi.
Karma yogi.
In the true sense of the word, 24/7, APJ Abdul Kalam thought about this country. He didn't have any concern for his family, not surrounded as politicians often are. In that sense, Sambit Patra, he represented a complete break with the past. Today political parties, very few of them are able to rise above for family concerns, about their immediate concerns, about how to ensure their own, wealth. Dare I say, I don't know what Kalam's bank account was at the end. I wonder if he had those, even if he had a large bank account left, he was someone who seemed to devote his life simply to service.
To this I would say he has a huge bank account, a bank account which is leaving with him, the account of knowledge. And as a doctor, let me share something with you. Look, he today collapsed and died because of a cardiac arrest. And do you know, he had come together, teamed up with his own cardiologist, Somar Raju, if I remember rightly, to develop a coronary stent for the poor. And across the country, in fact, the poor people use this stent known as Kalam Raju stent. He has saved thousands and thousands of lives because of his innovative scientific approach towards medicine as well. Though this man leaves at the age of 84, all of us shocked, but he, because of his huge bank balance of knowledge, has saved the lives of millions of people through his work. He has also developed a Kalam Raju tablet, health tablet, which is very helpful for rural health care.
These visuals that we are getting up from earlier today, when Dr. Kalam was there, look at him, sprightly even at 84. He seemed to be forever young in thought and action, 18 till I die. The great song of Bryan Adams, but Kalam lived that. He lived the life of someone who seemed to be young even at 84.
You should actually get a record of his travels and you'll be surprised.
That even today
he's constantly on the move. That's why when I met him in Peking, I asked him, I said, sir, you seem to be very active out here. So he just, one thing that strikes me, if you take him as missile scientist and as president, deep nationalism. I still remember one phrase he once told me: strength respects strength. Now it sounds a cliche, but this is a man who deeply believed that he wanted India to be strong, and that he saw his job as a missile scientist to provide India with the wherewithal to become strong.
Sir, I have to interrupt you. Hamid Ansari, Vice President, joining me on the line. Mr. Ansari, appreciate your talking to us. Your first reaction, sir, on this tragic news.
One of the most eminent of our presidents, a man of technology, who was also a man of the people. He did so much for the country. and was very aptly conferred with Bharat Ratna.
To your mind, sir, he was a man obviously of many parts, both at the DRDO, then as Rashtrapati, as someone who then later on went, wrote books for the young, lectures. How would you best like to remember him, sir?
I would remember him as a man of technology who made technology within understandable reach of the average citizen.
Would you say that he also redefined the role of the Rashtrapati? I know you're Uprashtrapati, sir, but in a way he redefined and opened the doors of Rashtrapati Bhavan. I remember the Mughal gardens were opened for children. The children were taken on tours across Rashtrapati Bhavan. He seemed in that sense the true people's president, sir.
Every Rashtrapati has left his or her stamp on the high office.
And for you, sir, the fact that he was, as was described just now by Manoj Joshi in our studios, as a true nationalist, there was that he oozed the idea of making India a superpower. He wanted India by 2020 to realize its potential.
To realize its potential, the term superpower is capable of being interpreted in different ways.
Yes.
I would refrain from using it. India is a great country. India has the potential of being a great power in the world, a great force in the world.
May I ask you one final question? Any personal memory that you have of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam that stands out for you, sir?
In the few interactions I had with him,
Yes.
he was always looking for ideas and quizzing. That is the most important part.
And was he as energetic today as he was when you first met him? You would probably meet him at official function. Did you sense that APJ Abdul Kalam gave the impression, as I've said, that who always seemed to have the energy of an 18-year-old?
Well, the very fact that he left this world in the manner that he would have loved to live in, which is lecturing to the young people. That is, I think, the one memory of his which will be imprinted on the public mind.
Thank you so much, Hamid Ansari.